The Department of Energy, the same agency that regulates your light bulb, has been secretly recovering crashed UFOs for decades using specialized teams that most Pentagon officials don't even know exist. These revelations came from UAP researcher Gerb, known as UAP Gerb, during his interview on the Danny Jones podcast. And that full interview YouTube link is in the description box below. And I think it is one of the most information-rich interviews I've seen in a long time. Gerb has spent years investigating military UFO crash retrieval operations, tracking down whistleblowers, and connecting classified programs that span from Peru to the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. I'm Cristina Gomez, and welcome to this episode of UFO News Updates. According to documented testimony from military personnel who risked everything to come forward, we're looking at a massive UFO recovery operation hidden within the government's most classified programs. And this isn't speculation, according to Gerb. This is eyewitness testimony from Marines, Navy divers, and defense contractors who've seen the technology firsthand.
And a sergeant comes up to him, I think this is Sergeant Montalegre, and says, hey, there's been a crashed craft. We need to go out and see if it's friendly. Nothing about UFOs, just a craft crash. This could be a plane. The Marines come across a ravine where about a 20 meter in length egg-shaped craft is just stuck in a granite cliff face. Probably granite. Weygand doesn't fully know for sure what the material is, but wedged in there. There's fluid leaking out of the craft. There's what looks to be 3 hatches, one of them open with possibly a non-human arm hanging out of the craft.
In 1997, during Operation Laser Strike, a classified anti-narcotics operation in Peru, former Marine Jonathan Weyand encountered something that changed everything to him. According to Gerb's research, what started as a routine recovery mission became a first-hand encounter with non-human technology and possibly an extraterrestrial. The craft Weyand described defied explanation. A 20-meter egg-shaped object wedged into what he thought was solid granite, leaking a syrup-like fluid that permanently discolored his uniform and removed hair from his body. And here's where it gets truly disturbing. Within minutes of discovery, unmarked helicopters arrived carrying DOE personnel in hazmat suits.
One of the governing bodies of NEST, the DOE NEST, Nuclear Emergency Support Team, is the 1954 Atomic Energy Agreement. Jonathan Weyand encountering DOE teams whose given authority is that same 54 agreement. So it's very interesting. Also, there's provable instances that DOE NEST was actually looking to operate in South America, Colombia, Bolivia, Peru at that time in 1997.
If you enjoy UFO news, updates, case studies, and interviews, then you will like this channel. Subscribe and share this episode with those you want to keep in the know with the latest UFO news. According to Gerb, the DOE, the Department of Energy, operates something called NEST, the Nuclear Emergency Support Team. While publicly tasked with nuclear emergencies, the evidence suggests a far more classified mission: UFO crash retrieval. And the connection runs deeper than what you might think. The 1954 Atomic Energy Act, the same legislation that established nuclear secrecy, is specifically mentioned in recent UAP disclosure amendments as the legal framework hiding UFO materials. As Gerb mentions, anything potentially extraterrestrial gets classified as trans-classified foreign nuclear material, placing it beyond declassification processes. And he details how NEST was actively operating in South America back in 1997, using Defense Support Program satellites to monitor the region for Russian space debris, the same time and place as the Wyans encounter. The DOE's involvement in UFOs really matters, and it's not just historical, it's happening right now. During a May 2024 Congressional Oversight hearing, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm faced direct questioning about UAP sightings at nuclear facilities. Here's the clip to that congressional hearing.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary Granholm, earlier when Representative Burchett asked you about some UAP stuff, you said that the DoD essentially had denied any existence of that, and you referred to them as drones, correct?
It's my understanding that the Department of Defense has looked at this and issued a report about it.
I have a lot of questions, so just quick and concise if possible. There have been persistent claims and reports, including those from credible whistleblowers to this committee, suggesting that the U.S. government, potentially including the Department of Energy, has been involved in reverse engineering technologies recovered from UAP. For example, the Pentagon's proposed Kona Blue program aimed at reverse engineering such technologies, although it was ultimately not established. Can you clarify whether the Department of Energy has been involved in any such efforts, either historically or currently, to analyze reverse engineering materials from related to UAPs?
I have no knowledge of that.
There have been documented sightings of metallic spheres over DOE facilities, if you want to call them drones in this instance, such as one report on April 30th, 2019 over LLNL. What investigations have been conducted in regards to these sightings, and what conclusions do you guys have about the nature and origins of these objects?
I'm happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, we'll be submitting also too for public record some questions after this, if you could please answer those.
And let me tell you, that hearing slipped under the radar when it happened. I didn't know about it until about 3 weeks after it took place. But when it comes to UFOs, Luna has always been on the ball since about 2023. And speaking of people who claim to know about UFO programs, Elon Musk has repeatedly stated he has access to all classified programs and has seen no evidence of aliens. But according to Gerb, that's complete nonsense.
So Elon would definitely not have access
No,
to this stuff.
unless he has a specific need to know for specific programs.
This reveals how even billionaires with government contracts don't automatically get access to the most classified UFO programs. They operate under strict need-to-know compartmentalization. But perhaps even more shocking is Gerb's revelations of NURO, the National Underwater Reconnaissance Office. According to the podcast, this agency is so classified that even Navy admirals are unaware of its existence.
And then there's the hidden NURO, the National Underwater Reconnaissance Office, whose activities are seemingly more sensitive than even the NRO's. There are admirals in the Navy that I have spoken to who did not know that NURO was a thing.
Really?
And so I sent them a little bit of stuff on NURO, and they went, "Oh." So there's a couple books, such as the Intelligence Community by Jeffrey T. Richelson. Great book. I really recommend everybody read that. And some other sources that can really dive in to learn a bit more about NURO, as well as former Admiral, Director of Naval Intelligence, CIA Deputy Director, NSA Director, Bobby Ray Inman. Bobby Ray Inman, I think it was 2018, finally admitted in a speech at some university in 2018 that he directed NURO, but he still couldn't talk about it to this day, which is interesting. He said when he became Director of Naval Intelligence, he wore another hat that was NURO, but they still didn't want him to talk about it. And in another interview for a university, I think this was some California university, he said that he had gotten in trouble before for talking about NURO.
He describes a 2002 case where a former Marine diver claimed his deep submergence rescue vehicle crew recovered a 70-foot triangular craft from the North Atlantic sea floor, complete with hieroglyphic writing along its edges. And the object has been buried in the sea floor for an estimated 30 to 40 years before recovery. And Gerb reveals testimony about Flux liners, alleged reverse engineering craft based on Roswell technology. According to Aerospace Illustrator Mark McCandlish sources, Brad Sorson, these vehicles were displayed at a classified exhibit described as crude human attempts to recreate alien technology using F4 Phantom seats and Walmart-grade acrylic bubbles. The disturbing pattern continues. Both McCandlish and the documentary filmmaker James Allen died under suspicious circumstances after working on projects exposing these programs. But perhaps the most mind-bending or spoon-bending revelation involves psychic operations. According to testimony, Jake Barber was mentioned, and there are programs attempting to use human consciousness to interact with UFOs, either forcing them to land or target them for destruction. And then Stephen Greer was mentioned, and this was really interesting.
But yes, it is true that Jake Barber was tasked to infiltrate Greer's camp. And kind of try and maybe set up whistleblowers. I don't know. I think the question needs to be asked, did Greer know this? Was Jake sent in to promise him high-level information, and did Greer know about this and willingly let Barber in knowing that he was an agent for possibly an agency.
The 1954 Atomic Energy Act continues to shield these programs from oversight, creating what researchers call boring classified information that bypasses normal democratic processes. Meanwhile, agencies like the DOE's NEST and the Navy's NURO operate in shadow so deep that their existence is barely acknowledged. What do you think? Are we looking at the greatest cover-up in human history or the most elaborate disinformation campaign ever conceived? Let me know in the comments below. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.